as long as you don't get into Phzy, and I had it in mind, like, am I gonna play or not? But I didn't find out until after the final in IM Winter. I want to get into the main team, I really do, and it's always been a dream of mine since I was a little kid, like since NIP were dominating in 2013 and yeah, in the early days of CSGO.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back into another interview. Been a little while, but we are back through with more. It's going to be kicking off with Phzy. Pretty happy to have you in for this one, mate. You know, obviously been watching you on the server for a while. I'll get it from the horse's mouth as well, because obviously with you being at IM Winter Blast and all that kind of stuff, we've had a bit of Phzy and Phzy. You know, which way are we going? Which way do you prefer?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it doesn't really matter if you say Phzy or Phzy. Like, as long as you don't get into Phzy and all those kind of kind of stuff, just we'll know.
Fair enough. Yeah, I think certainly like we'd had a bit of information in the tier 2 scene, as it were, but when you kind of jumped up, there was a little bit of confusion. It felt like so. But there we are. So, info for you. We've still got to get Nico Odos on, because still not sure whether it's Nico Dos or Nico Odos. You know, I've heard both from everyone involved, the team themselves. Then he said something different. You know, so it's all a bit crazy with names and all that kind of stuff. But look, we'll get to what I've just mentioned. People out there obviously know what's been going on in your career and all that kind of stuff, right? So we'll move on to that. But I kind of wanted to start with Young Ninjas, right? So obviously you kind of come into this team quite early on, academy project and everything, and I'm just sort of curious, like how you feel that ultimately being within an academy team like that with some resources and everything has helped you out, because there are other young players out there. One that springs to mind is Sergey, right, who's on Gorillas right now, who sometimes jump between teams and maybe get a little bit lost, like you could argue that he is right now, having to learn how to AWP when maybe he doesn't want to and all this kind of stuff. So how do you think that being in an academy system has helped your game and helped your career?
I mean, it definitely helps a lot, like the structure behind it and everything. It's somewhere, as you mentioned, like instead of hopping around in teams, that might often be the case in the lower tier scenes. We found our home now, I'd say. So it's some stability in that, even though we've changed the roster like quite a bit, changed a lot of players, players moving up to the A team and moving back. It's still some kind of stability to still be within the org, and even if you're not on the Young Ninjas team, you're still a part of the family.
Yeah, I mean that's fair, right? Like it does feel, because obviously you're not the only player that's had a chance here, right? We've had ZTR move up, we've had Linus move up, right? So I think it is kind of a cool system, and one thing I think that's quite interesting though, because you guys look relatively good as the Young Ninjas, right? Like kind of, I want to say 6 months ago, definitely over the summer period, you guys were looking pretty solid, close to the top 30, if not breaking in at one point, I think. So I'm kind of interested, when you have a player, I think at that time it would have been ZTR, who gets moved up. That's one of the things for the academy system that maybe is a little harder to deal with, right? Because then you guys have to bring in a new player, reinvent a little bit. Is that difficult, or do you feel that is actually quite a good experience for you to have this early on in your career? Because obviously it's going to happen a bit further down the line that you have to change teammates and whatnot.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a hard experience. Like, I think our peak was with LNZ when we brought him in instead of ZTR when he moved up. But yeah, it's obviously very difficult, and I mean at that time as well, I think we had like top 3 or top 5 most played HLTV maps like at the point that year. So we didn't really have time to even practice that much while also bringing in a new player. So it's definitely been hard, but also as you mentioned, like you learn a lot from it. And obviously like you got to be happy for like that time it was Eric moving up to the main team. So you gotta be happy for him, and just know that you'll get your chance someday soon as well. So yeah, I mean, it's both a good thing and a bad thing, I'd say. Like you learn a lot from it, but at the same time you need to change a lot, and you need to put in a lot more time changing players.
Mm. And is that kind of, you touch on it a little bit there, but is that sort of degree of certainty, maybe that indeed there is a kind of promise that you'll get moved up a little bit? Is that something you think that does, again, help the mental, help the drive? Because, we can, once again, compare it to some of the tier 2 teams that you might really give it your all, but you get a bit unlucky, like Double Pony right now, for example. I think they are close, but, they've been really proving themselves in 2020 and 2021, still looking pretty good. And they're yet to sign to an organization, whereas you yourself have a little bit of that backing already. Yeah, but you also have this kind of path of, okay, if I play well, might get a call up, as you did, obviously, and then I can prove myself, right? Is that something that you think really helps your like mental side of the game?
Yeah, I mean, obviously there's no guarantee or
Right.
certainty of moving up or even getting your chance, but I mean, it definitely helps like motivate you, and not even only getting moved up to the A team of NIP, like we have a really good platform of showing ourselves to the rest of the world as well, being a part of the Young Ninjas. So
Fair.
yeah.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think that's fair. It definitely does feel like having a little bit more structure to it is pretty healthy for developing careers all around. And I think that's why we are seeing, so many of these organizations pop up with young teams. Navi Junior, another one that kind of springs to mind at the moment. I guess another reason that a lot of organizations have been going for it is because there is somewhere for you guys to play, the Academy League, right? I think that's a really cool idea. And obviously, WePlay put on great shows, so it's awfully fun to watch. I don't know, just kind of very briefly, we don't have to get into it crazy deep, but I'm just wondering from a player perspective, what are your thoughts on the Academy League having played in it, obviously?
Yeah, I mean, it's a really, really great initiative. And like coming into the S tier events, like where I stood in now, recently, I think it's definitely been a good experience being on the Academy Finals lands and all those stuff, because they're very similar to the very best, like I Am Winter and Blast as well. So I think it's a really great initiative. Like we get some experience on land as well there, and I think it made me less nervous when I came in and stood in on the big tournaments.
Yeah, fair. Okay. All right. Well, let's move into that. Let's kind of move into that. We can't really tiptoe around it because it is a fairly obvious one. I think I'll start with the area of kind of your performance. Obviously, it's some not relatively, some very big shoes to fill, right? And we don't quite know what's going on with Device. I won't delve into that because I think he made it quite clear on Twitter that he's not really wanting to, answer a lot of questions and have everyone pry in and all this kind of stuff. Bit of a hard time for him at the moment. But from your perspective, you played pretty well. You know what I mean? Like, I think you held your own. You play in teams like G2 and the Astralis game. You beat G2 once, you lost to them once, right? So there's definitely some improvements to be made. But in terms of your personal performance on the AWP, right, this is a very hard thing to do at a top level and also, like I say, fill those boots kind of thing. So talk me through like how you feel things went and maybe some of the systems within the team that you were able to slot into to have these good performances.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I want to say I don't think I played that amazingly like everyone kind of says. Like I think I did okay considering the circumstances. Like we didn't have any practice at all. But yeah, and like it was pretty easy to fill in. Like we have a pretty similar system in how we play, I'd say, and that's a lot thanks to Eric. Like when he got moved down again, like he brought a lot of stuff from the A team down to us, and also Threat has been helping us in the past as well. So we have it was pretty easy to fit in, I'd say. yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because I think that's kind of again an interesting one that maybe indeed in future like just kind of preps players and I think obviously in this case there's a large amount of, again, I don't want to conjecture and all that kind of stuff, but it feels like burnout, right? Let's call it that on a basic level for Device. And so it gives a chance for players to sort of rest up and, you know, you yourself, Linus, as well, a little bit, kind of proving that you're not going to take too much of a hit to the game, right? You know, and you might require a bit of a step up from some of the veterans to help through the early series while you guys get ready and get prepped and whatnot. But ultimately, I think it is going to kind of go well for you. So I think it's again, a really solid idea and hopefully does lead to you guys getting a bit more experience and whatnot. But I suppose it is, yeah, you know, in terms of results, it would have been nice, I guess, for you to pull off a win while you were there. Second to IEM Winter, I think, is fairly commendable. But Blast, not so hot. What I want to know, right, this new Astralis team seem very up and down, very weird to play against at the moment. Talk me through that series there at Blast. You know, how did you feel kind of going into it, and what did you think of this new look Astralis?
I mean, honestly, I'm not sure. Like, it feels like they don't really have this, like, I don't know. Like, it's a very weird team, I'd say, because they doesn't really seem like they have that the roles fit right now. Like, Glaive is opping, for example, when they brought in Lucky, who was a main opper before, I guess. And I mean, Lucky has been playing pretty well with the rifle as well. But I don't know. Maybe it's just a big learning curve. Like, maybe we just need to give them some time with them changing roles and all. Maybe it could work out, but it looks pretty weird for me, at least right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it does feel that way. It does feel that way. So I think it's just kind of interesting. You know, maybe while playing them, you might see more structure than what we see off the server, as it were. You know what I mean? But I guess it kind of feels the same as it looks at the end of the day. So just kind of curious on that level. I also I wanted to touch on with the whole sort of standing vibe. We knew you were coming in for winter. There wasn't really given any information that you might be there for longer. Is it something that, you know, maybe they give you the call and they're like, yo, we need you for IEM Winter, but be on standby, or was it a bit of a surprise to you that you end up at Blast?
It was like, obviously I thought of it while I was there. Like, are they gonna play with the full lineup for Blast? Like, it's just like I think it was just a couple days away, like, from each other. So I mean, I had it in mind, like, am I gonna play or not? But I didn't find out until after the final in IEM Winter, which is also nice, I think, because I could focus my mind on just the final of that event, and then I got to know, yeah, you're going with us for Blast as well. So I think that was good.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. I think I'm just kind of interested, you know, sort of, I guess, how much warning and how much work you're able to do coming into it. Is it something that, you know, you're going to keep gunning for, you want to keep pushing, or is there maybe a world that you move out of, like, the NIP structure and use the experience that you built from it, but look to a different team, or are you very dead set on getting to the NIP main team?
I mean, I want to get into the main team. I really do, and it's always been a dream of mine since I was a little kid. Like, since NIP were dominating in 2013 and, yeah, in the early days of CS:GO. But I mean, it's interesting that you mention it. Like, I don't think it's necessary to like, do it direct through the NIP system either. Like, for example, like, let's say another team is interested in me, like, I can go there and play for them, maybe become better with them, and then maybe NIP is interested in me in a couple of years, you know. So I think, yeah, to answer your question, I do want to play for NIP, but a better question is how I would end up in the team, I'd say. Like, yeah, I don't know how to put it, but I think you understand maybe.
Yeah, no, I get that. Yeah, for sure. It doesn't necessarily have to be, 2 or 3 years of grinding in Young Ninjas. There's maybe a world, because right now I'm sure there are kind of plenty of teams out there, maybe like Mouse Sports spring to mind, that kind of thing, as a team that might look to some of these developed, players and teams, but they maybe need to look a bit further down and that kind of thing, or take a. Well, I guess they've developed some young talent in the past. We'll not talk too much about Mouse Sports because I'm sure we'll be here all day with that. But yeah, so I guess that kind of continues to move on. I wanted to bring the tail end of the interview into, looking at the future and where you feel you're at. I think a key one, it's a very simple question, really, but what for you was one of the biggest things that you learned from playing up in the top team? Does it function very different from, with the communication and stuff than you expected, or is there something in there that you've taken away that you'll be able to really use when playing in future?
What I actually thought is that it's kind of easier to play versus these like very good teams, because all their decisions are actually reasonable, and you can think what they do. Like, there's not so many random plays, so to say. So, I mean, obviously everyone is so much better than what I'm used to playing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, everyone is so good individually, but I think I can still, and I think that I showed that I could still like read the game and position myself good with the op versus these kind of teams. So that's probably what I'm like most both surprised of. Like, I think it was pretty easy to play, but also the thing that I will take with me the most.
Okay, yeah, I think that does make sense, right? And we do obviously have a lot of teams at the mid level where you have to kind of look at them and be like, okay, we need certain strategies to play against these teams, or make sure you got your guns up more often than not because they love a good run through a smoke or whatever. You know what I mean? So,
yeah,
I think that's fair. So continuing on that kind of line of thinking, then the future for Phzy. Obviously, I guess there's a bit of conjecture. We're not quite sure if you'll need to step into the main team again, whether that's into the new year or at some point in the future, right? But I guess just want to move into like how you're feeling, what you're thinking with future moves, and if Young Ninjas for now feels like the place to be, you've got a lot more to prove there, or maybe if you're feeling other options. We kind of touched on it a little bit, but just wanted to delve into that a little deeper with where you're at right now.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely feels like the place to be right now. Like, we brought in, LNC came down now again, and I think we can, like, with some time with him, I think we can become really good. And I definitely still believe in the Young Ninjas team, and yeah, I think we can become really good with the experience that LNC and CTR brings down. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to grinding again now in the new year.
All right, fair. Yeah, I think it's going to be a busy one. 2022. Hopefully, we might have a little bit of COVID getting in the way, But touch wood, as we say in the UK, it should be all good after a few months there. And I think most lands were not getting kicked off until that March, April time, to be honest, unless you're one of the bigger players. So I suppose moving on from where you're at confidence wise, where you're at kind of team thinking, why pretty happy with where you are within teams at the moment. I'm feeling maybe let's talk about like content a little bit, okay? Because this is something that I think being a young guy, it's maybe a decent sort of area to tap into and whatnot. Is that something that has maybe interested you, some YouTube content, some kind of brand building? Because I think it is something that, we don't see as many players as you'd like doing. And like I say, with the youth, with the time to make some mistakes, or I would imagine a few resources around you to get some people to help out, right? Is it something that you've thought about or not?
It is definitely something I've thought about. I've been trying to stream a bit more than I'm doing. Maybe not going very good, not really putting in the hours that maybe I want to. I did a lot of frag movies before as well on YouTube, which is I think it's very fun to just edit frag movies and learn different effects and styles of editing. So maybe that's something that I want to get into again.
I think it's good. You know, I feel it, right. Like, I started my YouTube probably like a year ago now, and it's been kind of up and down, on and off. And, you know, as I'm sure for me it's work with casting, but for yourself it'd be tournaments and whatnot, just filling the calendar and getting in the way a little bit, you know, and it takes you out of your stride. So, but I always like to kind of angle towards it at least a little bit when I'm speaking to players, just because, you know, I think this summer I had Phzy on, and Phzy does an awful lot with it, like just himself, really. But I think it is certainly an area that we need to maybe push a little bit more in CS esports, just in general. But look, I think that's going to do us, really. I wanted to ultimately delve into how you felt, you know, moving up and whatnot, how that was for you as an experience. But yeah, thank you very much for coming on, and hopefully speak to you again in future, mate.
Thanks a lot. Thanks for having me.